So let's go. We're still in our first module right now. Basically, this is due next week. Third? Yeah, so this will be due next, so before next Wednesday. So let's just go over the lab 1. I will take out week 1 eventually in there, but basically in this lab we're gonna take some time to play with the Unreal Editor. We're gonna create a third-person project, and I think I've created a project already. Let's go through. I'll open up the game launcher to make sure that's. But basically, going to create a new project. Target is desktop, scalable. Starter content, we have to add that in a different way. And I'll go over that one more time with you. Turn off ray tracing. You don't need it. You don't need your computer going at full blast. Don't make sure you have a working folder or root of your drive, either work or working. Save example level as a new name. I'll do that one again in the Epic. But basically, you should, again, we're going to make a level about 4 to 5 times bigger. And use the existing elements in the current level to build new things. You can submit a screenshot of your level when you're done. So I'm not looking for, you're not submitting your project, you're just submitting a screenshot of the work you've done. All right, so we'll just jump, launch the engine. It's over here, get out of the way. So the purpose of this lab is really mostly to give you an idea, familiar how to move objects around in the scene, how to place objects, how to set things up. I did. I created a new project. So if you wanted to create a new project, you go to the game section. This is where all your work where the templates you want. And we're going to use third person. Make sure blueprint is selected. The other one, again, this is what it would be like if it was C++ was selected. There's the basic target is desktop, quality of preset. Make sure this is scalable. Again, we're not doing anything crazy that we need that high level of fidelity. Now, one of the new things with Unreal Engine is they have some variants to their profiles. They have a combat, a platforming one, and a side-scrolling one right now. And we will eventually probably go back and look at those at some point. For now, we just don't. We're more concerned about basic usage of the engine. So we're going to just use the variant, the non-variant. I have set the project location. You can see it's C:. So C is your main drive. Make sure you've got, whether it's working, or on my machine at home, it's Git. As long as you've got a folder at the root of your of the drive, that's what we're looking for, and that's because these projects get big, and they get big pretty quickly. Name it something else. I then called this, again, for our purposes, I think I did F25. I'll do interactive game. There we go. So indicate that, and one of the things that I'd probably also do is do third person. Mouse out of the way. All right. So one of the things that I want to make sure that you understand is that when you're naming things, do not use spaces. Right. The reason is when you use a space, you basically, what it looks like is that you've got a and an apple, or and an apple in this case. If you type that in as something, there are several cases where, because of that space, it's going to look at those two words as different tokens. An is one thing and apple is another, not one whole thing. So if you wanted an apple as your name, you do an_apple, or that's one way to go about doing it. Let me actually do, so what I talk, so here's one way to go about doing it. Use that underscore, and that is after the 0 there's the dash. The shift dash is the underscore. The other way is use what's called camel case. And so each letter of a word in the, like, again, an apple, do tree, just to give you an idea. So, and the capital A on and, capital A on apple, capital T on tree. And that's the other way to name things. Don't use spaces at all. So, I'm going to go back. I'm not actually going to create this project because I have one already. I did not want to do cancel. There we go, project browser. So I'm going to open up this project right here. Actually, that's from the multi-user group. It'll be fine. Everything that I'm going to do here, it's not going to affect them. There we go. All right. So one of the first things, they've got this level third person. If we go to the content draw, this is where things are. One of the things that you will do, I'll go back to just content right here. You'll right-click in an area right here, and you can go to add feature or content pack, and then go over to content. This is where the starter content is. Now, I've actually added this to the project already, but I'm just showing you. You just basically would click on this, click add to project, and that would give you, if we go back up the content draw, here is the starter content. So this is the folder that they're going to give you. And this is going to give you, make this a little bit bigger. So they've got architecture pieces, audio things, blueprints, HDR things. They've got some maps in here, but mostly you're going to be using materials, some props, shapes, there's textures and particles. These are things that that I'm going to actually have you use in other labs. Please, and for your purposes, go right ahead and go in and add, play with these. Let me bring this. First thing that we want to do is basically go back to, so in terms of our folder, there is a content folder right here, and you'll occasionally see a folder called C++ classes. That's if your project, if you've built a C++ project, you'll see this folder here, and this is where your C++ classes come into play. And this is where, and you can build C++ classes that you can drag right into the world. We'll worry about that later on. But content is where generally everything is going to be in your level. I mean, in your project. And you're going to see a lot of different things in here. There's a characters folder. This holds the mannequins. Here is the mesh. So here are the mannequins that you could be using. Their materials are in here. Animations that they're using are here. Rigs, which is skeletal structure, is here, and then some more textures. Input, everything related to input with the project is in this folder right now. We'll go over input later on, and we'll make changes. Level prototyping. These are new. These are related to so this is related to the other templates at the moment. For our purposes right now, I'm going to make a new folder here. I'm just going to call it Lab 01. So everything I do for this lab, anything I need to create, I'm going to keep in this folder. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this level third person. I'm literally going to do File, Save Current Level As. Go into Lab Level 01, and I'm just going to call it Lab 01. And you should do this, so for each of your labs, you should be doing this. Is that you should be making a copy of the level that you're going to work on into its lab folder. And this will help keep things separated between each of the lab assignments. And also that you don't lose your previous lab assignment, because you might make major changes. I'll tell you one thing that I did change in this level with the multi-user group is that this platform right here has two materials applied to it. There's one up here and one down here. These are actually 4 different pieces. So these were just green, and I applied a material to the ground. So this is what's different from what you would see normally out of the template. So big thing that up here, these right here, basically this will allow you to play the level. So here we go. So WSAD, mouse look, spacebar to jump. Those are the commands basically for the third person. And this is what we are. And again, it's not perfect, but this is good for a starting template or a starting point to build a game. I hit escape to come back. All right, so important things about a level. Right here is the player start. So there's two ways you can go about building a level. You can have your player in the level, or you can have a player start in the level. Now, if you have a player start in the level, that means that a player model of your choice, and I'm using that loosely right now, will be spawned in. We will later on build a player. We'll put in the player model that we'll use, and that you'll play with essentially. This brings up one of the important pieces of Unreal that I need to get across, is that your player, you the player, and you the model that you control are two different entities in Unreal. And you are represented, so specifically you are represented by a player controller class. And in Unreal, the player controller takes control of a class of type pawn. Now, getting back, the first thing that you'll see everything you see in this world is of type actor. So an actor is anything that can be in the world. So this mesh right here is an actor, and this mesh right here is an actor. And there's a block here, a block here, a block. These are all actors. This is the post-process volume. Don't worry what that is right now. But this is a player start. These are all actors. These are all different actors. They can be placed in the world. You can move them around. Most of the time you can move around, unless there's a one-case scenario where the actor, it basically will just spawn at the origin. But these guys have, icons. You can move them, if I wanted to, I can move it around. Now, this is a skylight entity, so moving it around is not going to make any difference. And I just did Control Z to undo, by the way. There's a lot. Basically, there are in a core way, there are three basic entities you need in your world in order to have a functioning level. First of all, you need some sort of floor to stand on. Otherwise, you're going to fall through the void to infinity. Two, you need a player character or you need a player start. So you need either a character that you're going to control or a place to spawn the character that then you will then control. And then finally, you need a light. And the lighting primarily in the level is by a directional light. This is your primary lighting in your level, is through a directional light. Now you will build out other lighting with other entities. That's not a bigger deal. But those are the three things that you technically need to have a functioning level. The post-processing volume is technically also needed to help for the lighting process. You technically need it. You can get away without it if for really basic stuff, but later on you will need a post-processing volume in a generic way to do stuff. But as programmers, you're not worried about being pretty like a level designer or being pretty like an artist. You're just, for you want to be able to build a level that you can get up, get in the game, and to be able to test things. And that's why we're going over some basic level design things right now. All right. One of the things about Unreal is that it is a tab based application. And you can pull things. Out of into multiple windows. One of the things that I'm going to do right now is this outliner. For those who are used to Unity, this is equivalent to like the hierarchy tab. This is going to show you what's in the world. I'm going to drag this and put this over here like it's Unity. This will help. Why is there so much? There we go. And I can drag columns. Yeah, I got a lot of space. All right. So I'm going to try and get more space here. This is easier with when I have multiple monitors. So one of the things you can do is you can have multiple monitors with Unreal and have, like, I could have this outliner on another screen altogether. So the three big column. So basically, this is three big column setup. So you've got your outliner here. Your game view and scene view is here, and then details are right here. Your content draw is, you can click down here. You can also do Control space to bring it up. So when you're adding something, looking for something for an asset, you're looking to bring something into the world, you're going to jump into the content draw. And I'm going to go bring this right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add a model to the scene. I'm going to bring up the content draw. I'm going to go to the level prototyping, the starter content. I'm going to just go into props. And there's all these different props here that we could potentially add. The ubiquitous Unreal chair. I will add, actually, in this case, I'll bring a statue in. And so I just basically dragged it out of the content draw into the world. Now, one of the things that's going on with the statue is that the base is silver, and the statue itself is gold. Not gold. It's a glass. And you can see right here. Here is the statue. This is the object, and it has a static mesh component. So this is the properties of the mesh. So whereas I'm going to point to Unity. Unity builds things in multiple game objects. You have a singular game object in Unreal. There's not. You don't compose it of multiple game objects. You can compose an object of multiple components. One of them right here is basically like, here is the static mesh. This is the mesh that I'm going to use. So I could change this. I could change the mesh on the fly. You'll see that SM. This is an old convention where objects had. It's a variant on what's called Hungarian notation, where your names of your variables and names of objects have a prefix in front of it to help indicate what it is. So in this case, SM was static mesh. Down here, you can see M for materials. And I'm actually going to go in, I'm going to type in gold. And here is M metal gold, and I'm going to click on that. And you can see, it took it a moment, but it's gold, but it's got now, the oddity that I've got right now is that Unreal has what's called global illumination. Basically, light bounces around, and so this metal is taking up some green because it's standing on something that is green. Let's move this Let's move this to the center. Grab it. So I've selected the object, and this is gizmos. This is the move gizmo. I can also, if I hit W, I can get it. I hit E, it gives me the rotation gizmo. R, these boxes on the end, this is the scale gizmo. So if I drag it, you can see I can stretch it out. Those three tools are equivalent to what's in here in the transform window: location, rotation, scale. I can lock the scale. That's interesting. But I'm going to go back. I can grab this by 2 axes. You can see I can grab it by the corner of these. So this will allow me to move on 2 axes at the same time. I'm going to keep it at 200. So I'm going to move this over here. And I'm just going to move this over here for right now. There we go. So you can see that this is more gold. It reflects more green gold because I'm not getting that green reflection of light bounce on it. Let's go through. So they have a so the way they've structured the level is that they've got all the lighting stuff here. What is this actor? Wait, is this? Take a little bit. There we go. Oh, okay. All right. SM Sky Sphere. Okay. So, am I moving this? I'm gonna put this back. Okay. So while this is listed as a static mesh actor, the Sky Sphere is basically this outer range. If I delete it, actually, I can actually delete it. I can do the volumetric clouds. I can delete that. Sky atmosphere. Here we go. So I'm taking things out of the, highlight fog. I'm gonna actually undo these just so there's pieces here of the world that's going on that I'm trying to point out. Don't play much with the lighting. Unless we haven't gone over what these other pieces. But the playground basically consists of different pieces, mesh pieces. This is not named well. So these are all, here's a cylinder, here's another cylinder. But one thing is that, I'm asking you to build this out to be bigger. One of the things that we can do is we can click on the floor. And right now it's 4 by 4 by 10. Well, let's make this 8 by 8. So I can get a bigger play area. And that by right there, just doing that alone, if you do that and you build out the level that to this new floor area, hooray! You've built out the level. You've done what I've asked you to do. The walls, we can move them. Now, one of the things about, where is it? Yeah, okay. So one of the things that you'll want to look at up here, there's different options. So there are the select objects, select and translate, select and rotate, select and scale. And this is typical of 3ds Max, Blender. These are your typical tools. And these are the Q is select. So if I just wanted to select stuff, W is move and select, rotate and select, scale and select. There is basically, are we working world space coordinates? If we click here, you can select between world and local space. So when we talk about local space, we mean it's relative to a parent object. Don't worry too much about world versus local right now. For the most part, you're going to work in world space. Viewport relating snapping, so location, rotation, scale onto a surface. The big one that we want to go to is over here, is whether objects snack to a grid when you move them. And this is the submenu. Basically 10 units. Now 10 is very small. I'll tell you right now. In Unreal, 1 unit is 1 centimeter effectively. 100 units is a meter. So 100. So basically, multiply what you would normally do if you're thinking Unity. Multiply that by 100, minimum by 100 here in Unreal. Sometimes you'll multiply it by 1,000 for base stuff. But you can 1, 5, 10. These are all really small. 50 is relatively small as well. 100, 50, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. I'm going to jump this to 100 just to make my life easier. And now you can see that it's jumping out. Oh, the wall's made of multiple pieces. That's fun. And I can select this. I move this out. I can get a better idea. Yeah. And so again, it's scaled. So it's scaled 2 on the X, 40 on the Y. So I would make this 80. And if I do that, I need to move this back this way. I'm going to have to do the same for this one as well. So I'm extending out the wall. And we can do the same for this one. So what looks like how they've built this is that these wall pieces are 40. So these extend out the entire way. I'm going to grab, and I can hold Shift and select multiple pieces. And I'm going to move them back to the wall right there. And I can move them to this corner right here. We'll do both. Yeah, I did both. That's cool. So these two wall sides are 40. These are ending up being 36. If I select that. So this is going to be 76. Select these and pull these back here. So 36 is going to be 72. So just 72, 70. There we go. All right, so the top is 78 and the bottom is going to be 76. So that'll be helpful over here. And then we can just grab these. Let's select you. Again, I'm using Control and Shift to control how I'm selecting things. And origin. So this is what we would refer to as our origin points. So that's, I'm going to anchor it back here. And so just by doing that, I've now created a new play area that's much bigger. So your goal is basically, hey, go in and play, texture the level at some point. Again, texturing is pretty simple. I'm going to grab this cylinder piece. And it's consistent. You can see this consists of 2 different pieces. I'm going to select both of them. I'll go to the materials in the starter asset. What pick? I'll play with some of the hexagon stuff. And so this is basically going to drag onto it. And give it a second. It's about building the material. Don't worry about... So one of the things is don't worry about scaling. Like you can see there's a seam right here. Don't worry about that this week. This is more. Can you put in a material to be a placeholder material? Is really what you're doing. All right. I'm not asking you to be a level designer. I'm not asking you to be an artist. I'm asking, can you throw in a prototype material that can do the job that you want it to do? Worry about pretty. Let your artists and designers, level designers, worry about it looking pretty later on. That's their job. You're more concerned about getting things functional and getting things to work. If you can provide an example of something that is so we call on the level design, we call them set pieces, and it's something that you do regularly in game. So, for example, in Super Mario Brothers, it would be I jump over a pit is a set piece. And there's different variations of that, where you jump up pillar, jump over pit, all the way down. And sometimes you might have stairs. Sometimes it's pillar, pit to your peril. So again, set pieces have variations on them. But basically the idea is that if you can build a set piece to demonstrate to your level designers, they'll make it look cool. All right? It's not your job. Again, the way that I'm teaching right now, it's not your job to make things look cool right now. It's your job to make them be functional. Don't worry about that. Again, this is a programming degree. This is about application development. This is about getting things working. And again, the philosophy is if we focus on getting things working, we can make it look pretty later on. If you focus on making your game look pretty out of the box first, you do so at the detriment of functionality. And I've seen games that look pretty that were absolutely bad to play. The X-Men X3 video game that Activision put out was horrible. And I was there at Activision. I was at Activision at a different studio that was producing that game. We looked at, we were on a different project, and I literally looked at my coworker and what is this? It was bad. It made the gameplay was simple, and it was brutal, and it was horrible. Also, if you're taking a gameplay element from Superman 64, that's a bad idea as well. For those who don't know, Superman 64 is pretty brutal in terms of how bad it is. No clip. It's just bad design. Boring design. And don't get me wrong, it's hard to make Superman play fit really cool because he's so OP. Not so with Batman because he's a human being. So if you make him play like a ninja, he's pretty cool. Or you can do what Rockstar, you just give him an inspector mode. And basically there's a mode where you can highlight things and find clues, and that gave that's the Arkham series. Early Arkham games had that specifically, and that gave you another thing to do. To highlight, to figure out what's going on. Also gave you clues to the environment. Like I can batarang up to that point up there type scenario. So I'm just going to take these guys. I can bring these right back now. Things you can do, you can copy and paste. So I've just made a new set of static meshes. So I have no clue how far over. I'll say this is at 250, and I'll make that. I'll bring this over to. I'll 2,250. You will sometimes see that, hey, Unreal has put something in a weird spot. Feel free to go in and type in a value. So you can see right here, I've now basically made, 3 things across this wall. Go and fill this. Make it. Think of this as an amusement park, as that you can run around and jump on things. You can think about things in terms of elevation, and that's basically, hey, I'm just gonna, sake of argument right now, I'm just gonna grab these guys. Let's see, I'll move these back 200 and bring them up. And I'll copy and paste them, bring these back 200, bring these up. And I could probably go higher with these. Again, copy, paste. And if I was doing proper levels on, I'd probably make these bigger so they extend all the way down. Actually, the way I'd probably bring these down. I'll show you what I mean. So instead of moving them up that way, I can actually make these bigger. That's not what I want. 8. There we go. I'll do 6. Yeah, there we go. Do these properly for you so you have an idea. So these guys I'll make extend up to 8. So there's a 2 meter, and these would be 10. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to grab these 2, copy paste. I'll bring them out and I'll make these 2 meters. So I've got these steps effectively, and then I'll grab you. I need to go 250. There we go. And I need to make this 4, 5. Close enough for our purposes. And then I'm going to make this, I think, 10 high. There we go. And then I can make this, well, say 10 back. I'm just going to select all of these. And don't worry, it's not perfect. Don't worry about it being perfect right now. All right, that's something that your level designer will worry about. I don't have everything. There we go. So if I go press play, you can see that now if I go turn, here's my, can I jump up it? I can't. Oh, interesting. Probably not, what's the best way to do this? Four. 5. 1, 2. So I need to cut this in half. And in theory, I could. And one of the things you can do is you can actually use division, like in do type divide by 2, and it'll say, oh, okay, it'll give me the 5. There we go. Now I can go back. And this is why we block out. It's because we look for stuff like this and be like, oh, I can't jump up that. So we know 1 unit we can jump up. We probably do 1.5. Again, this is... We can go test it now. Yeah, he can jump up 1.5. So these are things... So as you go along, these are things that you are going to pick up. So that's 2 units high. So I know these have a base height of 100 units. So that of unit. So basically, we know that the mannequin is 1.8 high, which is about 6 feet. 1.8 meters is equivalent to 6 feet. So we know we've got a six foot character here. That's, you know, its neck is coming to 1.5 meters. Again, 100 units. So we know that the base, the block is 100 units high. And that's 1.5. So that's 150 units. We know up here is 2 units high. 2 times 100 gives us a 200 units. So just to be mindful, again, why centimeters? More for fidelity purposes. It makes it easier. It's for fine control. Part of it is the physics system. Is that if we're working at that level, your level of your tolerance is in centimeters as opposed to a meter. Parts of meters. So you know that's one of the things that's going on. It's just another thing that to be aware about is that the grid is we're on a 10 by 10 grid. Effectively, or 1 by 5, or it's a unit. It's a single unit grid. It's not a power. If you go back in time, you'll see that several editors were with the grid is set up on powers of 2, and things were built to the powers of 2. And what Unreal has done by breaking away from that, they've now basically have not given. So we're not dealing with an arbitrary unit. Again, Powers 2 was useful because it was a memory efficient unit. But now that we're where we've gone, Epic is like, we don't care about that efficiency anymore. We don't need that efficiency. And by doing so, they've gone to real world units and real world specifications. So older engines used to have what would be called a skybox. It was something that rendered the sky in the distance. You know, you would tag these planes to be this is the sky. Epic doesn't do that. The Epic says if you have an object that's off in the distance, then build it to scale off to the distance. It doesn't have to be the full detail. I mean, like if you've got like a kilometer high object that's 2 kilometers away. Then you build it a kilometer high, put it 2 kilometers away. Do you need all the detail on that? Absolutely not. You know, if it's like a tower, and as long as and one of the most important things is at night it has a light on it. Those are the 2 things you'd build. You wouldn't be building it to where you'd see little greebles or little details. Greebles is a term that comes from Star Wars. And it refers to details on models that are small that help detail out the model. Like the Death Star has tons of greebles all over the place, different things, panels and things that are in the surface. The X-wings have greebles on an X-wing. Basically shows wear and tear on the model. That these aren't perfectly maintained vehicles; they are in use, beat up a little bit. Not perfectly maintained, because that's the rebellion, for your sake. So those details. So your model wouldn't need those details. But if it was like a tower that was a triangle, then that would be your defining feature. So this brings up to an important. Let's talk about a level, and I'm going to use the word level loosely here because in Unity it's called a scene. In Bethesda they call them zones. So there's multiple words for what I'm about to talk about. So a level is a location in your game, and it includes two things that you have to be concerned about. A, it contains the playable space. All right, your level contains your playable space. So where the player can be and go, that's part of the level. The level also contains everything that the player can see, and it's not necessarily in the player space. Let's take Half-Life 2. You start in a train station. So that structure, that building train station, is part of your playable space. But eventually at the end of that sequence, you exit the train station into the town square. And one of the things that's in the distance that you can see as you exit is the Citadel. And the Citadel in that case is just a model off in the distance. If we were doing an Avengers game and you came out of Times Square, the equivalent in this case is that you came out of Times Square, you walk out and you can see Avengers Tower in Manhattan, wherever Avengers Tower is supposed to be. But that's part of the skyline that you see. Or the Baxter Building, if we're doing a Fantastic Four themed level in this case. Not something you can get to in this level, but it's something to help. And again, it's part of the level in terms of helping. Again, it's part of the level because you can see it. Now, granted, with Half-Life 2, the Citadel does become a couple levels actually. So you actually do get inside the Citadel at the end of Half-Life 2. And I'm not too concerned about saying that because it's over a 20-year-old game, so you should have played it by now. If you haven't played Half-Life 2, you should. You should. It'll give you an idea where state of the art was. Where state of the art was 20 years ago is still not too off from where it is now. We've gotten better in terms of fidelity, in terms of graphics, but it's not too far off. It's it's a 4K upgrade in terms of materials. In some cases. Yeah, run around, build something out. Play with elevation, play with height. You've got. I just showed you a jump sequence. Here is something you can build to make a. Here's a ramp. This would maybe a staircase later on. I'm not too, again, you can see right now there's a lip right here. I'm not too concerned about it. Because this is a prototype. Again, what you're doing is a block out and a prototype. Again, I'm just going to, I could go in and I'll be like, use the basalt on this. Being a pain behind today. Excuse me. Yeah, I have an allergy. I'm still trying to figure out what it is. But again, the material is I'm allergic to all you guys. So one of the things I can go is I can select all of these. go select all of these. And there we go. And I'm going to go to, they all have one. So materials, when we look at materials, a model might have multiple materials applied to it. Most of the time it has only one, but there's cases where a model can have multiple materials. They've decided to make multiple material groups. So that's what element means. In this case, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to type the rock basalt, and then you can see that, hey, I can change multiple things at the same time. And that's basically what I'm showing you right here. I'm going to grab these guys, the walls. I'm just going to go to hex. I'm going to do the textile pulse because that looks cool. That would look cool if it wasn't stretched out like crazy. And we'll talk about this is about UV mapping and tiling, and we're not getting that at the moment. Can I? No, let's find the textures. Yeah, I'm not going to get that. Let me try a different material. The problem is I'm stretching out that model in a weird way. Yeah, let's try. I'll just do rock. There you go. And you can see it's stretched out, but it's. Don't worry about this texture stretching. There will be a time and place where we'll deal with this later on. This is something just unavoidable right now, given how we're stretching these objects. So don't worry about it at the moment. Is there something under advanced? No, I don't have access to the UVs that I would want. Yeah. What would eventually would happen is that essentially you would actually export out these. There's a way you can export information out of Unreal into like Blender or 3ds Max or Maya. Do what you need to do, make changes, and bring it back into the engine. This is kind of how like the high detail work that you see done on like The Mandalorian or Obi-Wan. They used Unreal Engine to do the build scenes and to build scenes for what they call the stagecraft, which is the dome structure that's basically a ton of LEDs. And they do that because they don't want to use a green screen. The idea is if we can get the lighting that we want from the LEDs, we don't have to use a green screen, and we don't have to do post-processing after the fact. And that was really in season one. In season one of The Mandalorian, there's a scene outside, and it's in a dusk type setting, and they were able to work on that all day long because they were controlling the light. So I point that out because that's a way, it's a new way to use the technology that I'm teaching you here. I'm teaching you how to be functional, how to get things done, how to make things. We're focused on things on being interactive. But the next step over is level design. It's building on environments. And that's part, level design straddles functionality and straddles being pretty. And you're not too far away from the level design piece at the moment. We're the furthest right now to the art piece, but that's because we're programming. We're focused on functionality and not art. So again, right here, this would be a start to whatever you wanted to build. I mean, I probably would want to grab these guys. And I'm gonna just rotate. So again, blue is the z-axis. Z is up in Unreal. In Unity, Y is up, just so you know. So if you see me type something in Y, it's because I've got Unity on the mind. So in this case, I'm going to turn them 90 degrees. Hit W. I just hit W to go to the move tool. And it's too high. There we little bit. And ideally, I'm moving this around, and in theory, I would go and actually, like, I'm just going to do copy, paste, rotate it again. Actually, there's an error right now going on. You see that, how it's flickering? That's called Z fighting. And that's what happens when you have two surfaces that are all in the same place. And basically, the engine doesn't know which one it should be rendering. So it flips back and forth between them. This happens with every renderer. Uni is a little bit better, but ultimately, I mean, basically every single frame, it's making a coin flip, determine which surface is getting priority over the other one. So that's a common mistake. Don't feel, you know, and that's something that QA picks up. So that's more of a QA issue. And I'm going to pull this out so I don't have Z fighting. So if I go press play now, normally I'd probably have put those down to the ground and build them up. You can see right here, I've got just now built this up. And now I've got, huzzah. I'm now up here. And again, maybe you build something, again, things that I might do is I might go to the content draw and go to props, and I'll go use the lamp. So the lamp right now is up, so the origin, so the lamp is supposed to be like something on the ceiling coming down. I'm just going to basically rotate this around. Now it's standing up here, and I'll put this right here. And now I'm using this as my stand-in for my flag. All right. I can go in and I can change the name up here. If I double-click on it, up right here. Conversely, if I go right-click, I can go and where's rename? I need to make this bigger. There we go. So if I double-click in, pivot, snapping, edit. Here we go. I got to go under edit to rename. F2 is the hotkey. So this is going to be my flag. So I'm going with like a capture the flag type scenario. You know, this would be my flag entity, which I'm using for my stand-in right now. There is up here you can add basic place actors. So basic actors, light, cinematic shapes. So there's a generic cube, sphere, cylinder, cone, and plane. They've got some geometry here. They've got curved stairs, linear stairs. Don't worry. I mean, if you want to play with them, go right ahead. Not that big deal. Later on, you'll play with. We'll talk about volumes later on. They're like, again, triggers. The big one would be if you wanted a blocking volume. Like for my case, so invisible volume used to block other actors. So here is. So essentially, I've built an invisible wall, and it's a cube. It's a cube. You can see right here, I've got some Z fighting. Now, I'm not too concerned about this because this is on the outside, so the players would never see this. Shouldn't see this on a normal basis. But you know, for here, I'm going to say, hey, this should be half the size, so I only want that 50. And then the Z is going to be 40. I'll say 20. And I can move this into place and bring this up. And so now on this side of the wall, this side of my level, I have this invisible wall that will keep things in the level. And if I duplicate that 3 more times, put it around, not that big. So the thing about, with the clipping volume, with the blocking volume, you'll hear it referred to as a clip. Because other engines do call it that way. You don't have to worry about things overlapping because they're invisible. And if you hit G, that's game view. So this is what you will see in game. So you don't see all those entities that were right here. The player starting all these. These are all invisible. Here is that blocking volume. It's invisible. It doesn't show up in game. So that's if you wanted to take a look at what your game view looks like, because it can get messy with all the entities, functional entities in the scene. What's up?
Just to make sure I don't get lost, the blocking volume is sort of like a force field, so we don't run off into the.
Yeah, it's a block. It's basically it keeps the player from jumping through it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew for sure what that was.
Yep, it's just invisible. It's an invisible wall. It's to you use it to keep the player in scope of what you're building. The goal of this assignment is for you to get used to working with Unreal Engine, placing objects, moving around, scaling things as need be, copying, pasting, because you're going to do that in general when you need to build out stuff. I mean, like one of the assignments that I have you do, basically, I'm just going to take this cube right here. Essentially, you put down a cube essentially into the scene and be like, oh, I'm going to make it 3 by 3 by 6 high. And that's obvious the way that we've set things up. You can't get to the goal is to get to the top of this cube. Well, I'm gonna copy and paste this just for the sake of argument. Make this 1.5, 1.1. And here now I have a platform. I'll make that 0.7. There we go. And just for the sake of argument, I'm going to flip it around. So the registration point is right there. But here we go. And I probably would need to go down smaller to get this, to snap this correctly. But hey, I now have a platform. And this is something that you will do in a future assignment. You'll make a platform, and that will turn that into an entity. And then essentially you'll script it to basically go up and down. But we'll talk. That's another assignment, so don't worry about it. We'll talk about that. The first part of that assignment is actually you interacting with things. So you'll build an elevator as one of them. You'll turn on and off a light. There's an entity that will blow up when you interact with it. There's another entity that you put on top of the. So up here we'd have another entity up here that you interact and it calls the elevator up to the top. Several weeks down the road, a hint of where you're going to be going with things here in Unreal. But we are going to build those quick and easy. We're not too concerned about how they look. Because your level designers and your artists can change how it looks. That's not an issue. What we want to give them is the functionality, or have the level designers set up that functionality. And the idea is that we're building tools the level designers can use to build out levels. And then other level designers and other artists can then make it look pretty. Think that's the big thing, is that you are building tools to give to your other people on your team so that they can do their work. So they don't have to, and ways to give it to them so they have full functionality and control over how it functions, so they don't have to come back and ask us, can you make it go up 5 units higher? That's not what we want to happen. We want to be. They should be able to go in and use that particular thing and set, like, again, one of the things that we'll do with the elevator, we'll set it in a generic way, and then we'll actually go into the level and reset. One of the things in the entity, there's actually another platform that dictates how high it goes. And as I expected, it's gone higher than I expected, but that's something that we'll talk about in that other lab. But essentially, there's the elevator entity has the platform that moves is one piece of it, but also there's another static mesh that says, where am I moving to? And one of the things you can do with that lab is that you can make it not just an elevator that goes up, you can make an elevator that goes across or on a diagonal. So things that you're going to do in this class, I'm just giving you a heads up. If you want to build a tower like this and be like, at some point you will get up there, that's perfectly fine. It's okay to build like this for this assignment. Again, as a level designer, I'd probably bring these all the way down to the ground and scale them up. How I built this side right here, I'd probably do with these. But for speed, I basically built it like this. Maybe I want this. Maybe there's an archway here. Who knows? That's not the concern right now. It's basically, again, my concern is that do you have a basic feel for moving around? I'm using the right mouse button to look. So I'm holding it down and I'm moving. That's giving my mouse look. I'm moving around WSAD. So it's very, very much shooter-centric in terms of controls. Control S will save the scene, the level. Control Shift S will save everything. So save current level, that's Control Alt S. Control Shift S. And so there will be other assets you will have open. So like when you're dealing with a material, or you're dealing with a model, or you're dealing with a blueprint, for example. Next week we'll talk about blueprints. The blueprint will be its own window, effectively, and you dock those windows, and you can dock those windows up here. In fact, the first one that you'll use is the level blueprint. So here is open level blueprint, and where is it? Here it is. And I'm going to dock it up here so I can go between these easily. Now, the level blueprint is specific to the level. We will learn how to do some things in the level blueprint, and then we will ditch the level blueprint for blueprint classes. So there's things that we can do with the level blueprint we can't do with blueprint classes. And there's a lot we can do with blueprint classes that we can't do with the level blueprint. So don't worry. It will all make sense. So don't worry. Any questions for me? Anything that I haven't gone over? Yes. Take the question over here.
What variant?
No variant.
No variant?
No variant. Yeah. Don't worry about with the variants.
Okay.
Push come shove, if you actually make the C++ version of the project, you'll get all the variants. They'll give you, so each variant has its own folder with its own scene in it. So if you want it, if your computer is set up to use the C++ side of things, if you want to play with all the variants, go right ahead. But for our case, we're just going to use the basic level. Yeah, the variants have specific scripting and features built into them, and we're just not ready to look at those right now. Really, what it amounts to. Yeah, it's convenient, it's nice, but for where we are right now, it's more overhead that we have no clue. It's just it's going over your head, literally. In this case, I need to explain some of this, how this engine is structured, and I gave you the first three pieces that I've given you is an actor is anything that can be in the level, And that's whether it's a world mesh or an object that has information or the blocking volume, they're all actors. Specifically, the model that you control as a player is a pawn, and you as a player are represented by the player controller. And the first interaction between, and the next, so the first interaction, sorry, the first relationship is that the world consists of actors. And the second relationship is that a player controller can control a pawn. Don't worry about, the more about the world consists of actors is the most important one this week. The player controller controls a pawn. If that goes over your head and out one ear or the other, don't worry. That will be hammered in later on. So don't worry about that particular piece right now. We will come back to that multiple times. In fact, one of your assignments later on is that we will put three pawns in the world, and we'll set up a player controller. We'll set up a pawn that has scripting in it that allows you to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and by hitting those, you will transfer between the different pawns in the world. Future lecture. Don't worry about it. So I'm just showing you, like, hey, here's cool stuff we'll do later on in this class. Is what I'm saying. Yeah. So there's a question on this side. No. But there was a question from this. I heard something. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, super basic, but can you click and drag to select multiple things, or is it only?
Yeah. No. You saw me click and drag these. Again, these are multiple objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just gonna, you saw me. I'm gonna copy and paste, and now I've got a copy of all those 5 objects. I can deselect those 2. You can see me move these. You can see that I've changed those three of those 5 objects. I can just select them, and I'll bring them down. I'll go grab all of these and I'll bring them down even further. Yeah, so now that I've done that, now I've got, you go over here. Again, don't worry about materials. Don't look, again, that this is horrible looking. Nothing I can do to control that at the moment. That'd be something like, hey artists, fix this. Any other questions? All right. So at this point, I'm going to end the recording. Again, the idea is, your level should be 4 to 5 times bigger than the initial level. Just by taking the floor and making it double, the width and length, that will give you four times right there. Do a little bit of elevation. There's your fifth 5 times 5. Again, don't be afraid to play with elevation and height. Don't be afraid to make bridges. Don't be afraid to make stupid abstract things like Monument Values, the game that they've got strange platforms and bridges. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, I'm not asking to build any real world location. I mean, if you want to build like a temple, go right ahead. That's all columns for the most part. So don't worry about how, what it looks like. Don't worry if it makes sense. Don't worry, just as long as you can run around and run around the level, that's all I'm concerned about. Yeah, use the existing elements to build the level to build new things. You can bring things into the level as need be from like that starter asset folder. Again, if you were like, oh, I'm building like a CTF map. I use the lamp as the flag in my case. Don't worry about object rotation and placement. We'll when we get to actual blueprints, that's something that will be fixed when we build out the blueprint. The blueprint can control that for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Again, make sure you save the example level as a new name. Again, we went to save current level as. Keep, again, unlike one I did with the senior group with this level, change the name of the, change, because we want to maintain different, and it's okay, basically we're just building new map files. And that's what you want to do in this case, just to have when in doubt, rename the level to be different from the other level file name. What's up?
So when you say save the example level as a new thing.
Yeah, so if you remember, I'm going to just save this level, just to be on the safe side. I'm going to open a level. So open the existing level. And here's in the lab 1 folder, we had the lab 1, if we go to content under third person, there's the level third person. And this is the example. This is what opens up when you opened up the editor. This is the level that it's opening up to.
Okay, so I've saved both of those as separate things.
No, save this. So this is what. So what I did is these were. So this is. Where's the material? Material instant third person Colway. I have no clue what that means. But these were there we go. I'm actually going to set this back. There we go. So I'm actually going to save. So this is what the level was before I played around with it. And the other was, this is, all right, so this is going to be gray. There we go. So this is what the level looked like originally. I'm actually going to save this now. Save current level. There we go. So this is what the level looked like originally before I played around with it. So you the editor opens up to this level, and you want to start working. Well, let's not destroy this level like I did before. Go save current level as, and I'm just going to call it sandbox. And here you go. I have a new level for my purpose. I can go in and do what I want and not worry. I'm not destroying another level. And you'll see, particularly with these smaller like example levels, that you've copied the level and you change it as you see fit. You make another level and you change it and do what you need to see fit. And that's particularly how you would work, because you're not building out your gameplay spaces. That's your level designers. What you're trying to do is build out examples for your level designers. All right. Here's a level that explains how to use the ladder system. Here's an example that explains how to use the elevator system that we built. Here's an example of shoot the lights, have fun. That's and I'm pointing, and by shoot the lights, have fun, I'm pointing out to the Splinter Cell series, which is an Unreal game. It's a franchise that's been historically on Unreal Engine. Sam Fisher with his night vision goggles goes around, shoots out lights, and kills people. If you've seen the 3, like 2 eyes and a third, that's Splinter Cell. But yeah, Sam Fisher is a super agent, goes around, kills people.
I save a copy of the example level and then the one after I've messed with it.
Oh no, you don't need to save it again. I was maybe saving the level just to make sure I had saved the level. Save and save often. Basically, take the example level that you load in, save it as a different name, do your work in there. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording right here.